You're listening to the AI Moment with me, Jonathan Wagstaff.
Me, Danny Denhard.
And Dan, today I think we're looking at the question of best practice in AI training. And I think this has been driven out of, both you and I have had conversations with people where they're frustrated that they maybe feel like AI has been introduced to their operation, but they're not really seeing much progress with it. And it's like, well, we've got the wrong model, or why are we doing this wrong? So I thought maybe a little chat about what we're seeing is good practice for people, what's working would be a useful thing to do today. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a really good place. And for a number of conversations and messages I'm sort of receiving or groups I'm in at the moment is, how do we get the most out of it? What are we doing wrong? How do I make sure that all of my teams adopt it, etc.? So I think that's a great place. With a lot of the work that you're doing, Jonathan, and a lot of the workshops and that you're running, what's your best practice? How do you tackle this when this comes up?
Well, I think what you see quite often is people saying, "Oh, well, we've had a little play with it, but we've not really done anything useful with it at the moment." From a knowledge point of view, there's a couple of things to say, Dan. One is, I think we have to get away from the idea that this is some kind of new tool that we're rolling out, and we have to really see that this is a business transformation technology. So we need to be teaching the skills as business fluency, not or AI fluency as a business skill, not some new little tech geeky skill that people can learn or they can't. It's going to be like using the phone was 100 years ago, or using a computer was in the 90s. If you can't get on with this, you're really going to struggle in business in a few years because everyone's going to do it. So AI fluency is going to be something that's not optional, I would say, for people. And so what we've got is businesses getting the licenses, and they're sort of flinging them at people and saying, "There you go, get on with it." Or maybe there's a tiny little awareness session, then go and get on with it. But rather than that, I think the start point for organizations is say, okay, what would good look like? Let's have a think about this technology and think about what could we do with it? Where can we use it in the places that, as we've talked about on previous pods, where are the big pain points? Where are the hard work places that we could start with it? So I think that's where I'd start. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I definitely think that's the place to start. The one thing I would just challenge briefly is whether it's a core skill set or people should see it as a tool. And one reason why I say why they should see it as a tool is because if you make it too grand and too big, a lot of people struggle to then adapt their way of thinking and adopt different approaches to learning. Often when you think of a tool, it's an assistant, right, as opposed to something that could feel like replacing you. So sometimes that's just a way that I reframe it or frame it slightly differently. One way there's a couple of ways that I recommend companies really attacking it post giving the subscriptions or the different tools and models is, how are you going to set up people for success? What are the training that you're going to provide, or you're going to bring people in to provide that? So whether it's a workshop or a hackathon, what are the ways that you're going to embrace people adopting it at different speeds? How are you going to bring people together regularly and often to get that, sharing their skills, sharing their knowledge, and having a center point where people come around? And how do you build something that is assisted by AI, so everyone understands what they did, how they did it, why they did it, and the impact it's going to have? Because if you don't do that and you're not helping people get the training, gather insight, share their knowledge, it's really difficult to maintain that. And like we said, it's a transformation, so you really do have to treat it as such. And the last bit of advice I give people is, if you're not going off and trying to train yourself and get AI to help train you, you're probably in a position where you're going to lose, versus where other people are going away and they're doing a lot of self-teaching, self-learning, and really investing their time, because they're the people who understand it's going to stick around for a long time. It's going to help them day to day, whereas other people that don't do that are relying on the company to give them all the A to Z, the 1, 2, 3 steps. And I actually don't think that's going to be enough for most people with some of the risks that are coming out from AI and using AI.
Yeah, I think it's the wrong approach anyway. I think to your point, I think AI fluency is a skill alongside things like data literacy, communication, project management. It's one of those skills. So as you say, it is a skill you've got to learn. But my point, I think, is to say that it's going to be core to business in future. It's certainly not an IT initiative. It belongs in, learning and development, and ideally, it's role specific. You need to think about a marketer's experience and a finance person's experience will be what they'll get out of it and what they'll do with it very different. But I think to approach it, my advice would probably be it's not a one-off webinar. It's probably layered. So you start with something, you do have something like a short foundation session to start. So you've got a session where you get people in a room and you introduce them to the models. You explain about it being a natural language. You explain about some of the things like it's not Google, so you should interact with it, you should have a conversation with it. The more detail you can give it, the more context you can give it, the better. You explain those concepts. And that's really maybe an hour or two. That's all that is, just to get people used to that. But then behind that, I think where you get real value then is running role-based workshops. So as you've talked about on previous pods, Dan, you do something like you can call it hackathon if you want, you can call it workshop, whatever you want to call it, but you get a set of people in a room having identified a potential place where AI could help, and you get them to work together on how that works. So that might be a set of marketers looking at a marketing problem, or it might even be cross-functional. It might be a salesperson, a finance person, operations person working on a process problem. But you people are working on their own real tasks, and they're learning as they go, and they're teaching each other. They may be building a prompt library in the short term, because my experience is really people learn this stuff by doing it, not by watching. So the faster you can get them into those sessions. So that would be my kind of, where do you start, guys? You start with probably three things, actually. You start with number one is leaders need to champion this stuff. So the leaders in the business, if you're not getting that take up or you're struggling with it, the leaders need to be seen to be adopting AI, using AI, and AI is part of our future, like it or not, number one. Number two, then you do some kind of foundation session to get people up to speed with the basics. And then number three, give workshops, allow workshops or allow hackathons, whatever you want to call it, where they can go and work on real problems. That would be my kind of short advice about how you might adopt and get AI working and some value from it quickly.
Couldn't agree more. One step that I would encourage with all my emphasis is internal training and do show and tells. I think that's something that a lot of businesses are failing at and really not encouraging how peer training is essential with AI. And very often, if you don't have that, those peers will be the people that people go to get that set of training, or can you do this for me? So it's a bit like when someone's great at Excel, they all flood to that one person to do their Excel work. What it really needs to be is a collaborative effort with peer training. Something I recommended just last week was Friday mornings, have a training session, 1 hour training session, where some work you've done or a problem that you've solved, what you did, how you did it, what tools you used, just a way to get them to, and towards the end, help them co-create together and then fix that problem, because that's the only way you're going to build momentum. And it's the only way you're going to bring people together solving problems where they've got 100 other priorities and AI is just yet another one of them.
A session like that, maybe a lunch and learn. People run lunch and learn sessions quite often. One last thing to just add in is that what I have seen somebody do, a couple of organizations actually, is do a bingo card. So you put maybe 20 things on a bingo card and you're encouraging everyone to have a go at each of those different things within the AI structure. So that encourages people to spread and go and try new things and all that sort of thing. So maybe a bingo card's useful for some people.
Right, that's packed full of really strong recommendations. So it's, if we were to summarize in 3 or 4 bullets, it would be create a foundational kickoff, make sure that everyone understands what it's for, how to use it, etc. Then potentially bring in or run a workshop, how people can get on top of that foundation, start using the tools, understand what's great and what the tools they should do and some of the problems they should tackle. The third one is potentially use and build a hackathon. That's something I strongly recommend when you workshop, then you hackathon, so you're building against the core sets of problems that you have. And then potentially it's the individual training that you go off and then share that knowledge internally. And the fifth one is probably revisit and have people coming together regularly, creating another hackathon or another workshop.
The only thing I'd overlay on that, Dan, is leaders need to go first. So if the senior team visibly uses AI in meetings and shares what they've tried and talks openly about what worked and what didn't, it'll normalize the experimentation that we need. Culture beats curriculum every time on this one. So leaders need to go first is the only thing I'd add to your excellent list.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, Jonathan, and good luck for all the listeners who are going to go and tackle this.
Good to see you, my friend, and I will see you next time.
Thanks for listening today, everyone. If you liked what you heard, please give us a rating and review in any of the podcast players. We have a supporting newsletter, which is aimoment.co.uk, that comes out on Mondays and Fridays with every pod, and we dive a little bit deeper. So please subscribe there. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.